All right. Welcome everyone to the Node.js tooling meeting. It's January 7th, 2020. I guess let's get started here. What's up first on the agenda? Oh, actually, the first thing in our last meeting, I was trying to remember there was an issue that had been raised on like the main Node.js repo that I thought was applicable to us, and I could not remember what it was. So I went and found it after the call, and it's this recursive reader issue. So I know how we love recursive things. Seemed applicable to us. Oh, did I say 2021, Darcy?
I thought I heard 2020 come out of your mouth, but
I definitely didn't say that. I mean, maybe, who knows? Yeah, anyways, I just so I just linked this into our repo, so it appeared on the agenda. Not sure, doesn't look like there's been any real updates on it for the last month or so. Probably not that surprising. But yeah, I mean,
this was open. This was open like 2 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, it looks that way. And then like more recently, like when it came to my attention, I think, yeah, Ben, you had commented on this. And then Ethan said he was maybe gonna work on this sometime soon. So I'm not sure that there's anything for us to do here, unless, you know, maybe I think he just like changed jobs as well. So, you know, maybe he's a little busy at the moment. We could always try to help out with this, but and actually I ran into this in something I was working on recently too.
Seems like a cool feature.
Yeah, pretty handy to be able to get a list of files in a directory recursively. Like, seems like a pretty straightforward use case as well. I did not get a chance to look at the actual. There's like a package that does this, and I have not taken a look into how complex that package is. It has one dependency, which is on Minimatch. That was a problem we ran into before with Rimwrath, right? It originally had a dependency on Glob, which itself has many dependencies.
Should Node.js have a globbing library in it?
Probably, but we've talked about that before. I think some of the issues at the time were like, which sort of like format would it follow? Because I don't know if there's like a POSIX standard for that. But yeah, anyways. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, having some way to filter the results would be nice, but that could just be a closure, right?
Yeah, that's true. You could just, yeah, get back everything and then filter it yourself.
I think we have a filter on copy recursive. So it would be following this pattern too. So like maybe we could get rid of the glob dependency in favor of a filter closure. And if you wanted to, you could use a glob inside of that filter. So you kind of bring your own glob to start.
Right. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We could always add, if we, by some miracle, end up adding a glob library to Node, we could always add that on later. Okay, well, like I said, I don't know that there's much to do at this exact moment on this. Maybe worth following up with Ethan to find out if he does want to work on this, or if he'd rather we took it on.
Both Ethan and Tierney obviously are in the OpenJS Slack. If we wanted to tag them in the tooling channel and just, you know, our conversation should probably be in the GitHub issue, but if we wanted to kind of prod them a little bit in Slack, we could.
Right.
That sounds very reasonable to me.
Okay, yeah, let's start with that. Okay, anyone have anything else on that, or should we move on?
Good.
Okay. Up next is doing something to like call out new features in Node that don't require third-party libraries. I've been more focused on things around argument parsing, so I haven't done anything with that one lately. So yeah, no updates there. Next up is recursive copy. Anything new there, Ben?
What's new? 1 second here. Just looking things up.
Yeah, I see a note here.
So James said he would not. He would be supportive of us moving to stable. He was one of the folks who, James Snell was one of the folks who said he'd like to see us support buffers before we call it stable. But he said he'd actually, if we're not getting many bugs open, he said it's enough of an edge case that he would probably not. He'd probably be supportive of us moving to stable without that. So I linked one of the things that maybe we'd want to experiment with before we called it stable, though, which is there's apparently OpenDir, which is I think like a async generator works as an async generator instead of loading everything in memory. And they were pointing out this would reduce the memory footprint of copy recursive. So that might be worth looking at. I think it's like a drop-in replacement.
Yeah, that seems worth at least trying.
Yeah. I haven't actually used OpenDir.
Is that something you're interested in doing, or for help on that?
Yeah, I think I would happily delegate to someone else doing it if they were so inclined, but I will do it if no one else is. So if our tens of thousands of listeners on YouTube, if any of you are interested in contributing to the Node code base, I think this one would be a really good task for someone's first task on Node.
Yeah, if it really is a drop-in replacement, that would be a good way to good first issue.
I think it kind of is. Like, I think one basically loads all the directories into memory which you then work with, and the other one basically gives you one directory at a time. And I think the algorithm works one directory at a time anyways, so you could be kind of approaching it like that. I guess maybe you end up with 50 file handles open that way, though. I'd have to reread the algorithm. Like if it's recursive, you might end up with, you're not loading all the directory into memory, but you have 73 file handles that are open and iterating on a directory. So I would need to look at the algorithm again, I think, to see if the recommendation actually works. But,
yeah, okay. Seems at least worth looking into.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, anything else on that?
I don't think so. Just waiting to see if it's got good adoption, to see if we want to call it GA.
Okay, might be, if we are going to do this OpenDir change, it might be worth doing that first, assuming it's easy.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, like have that be out in a Node version before we flip the switch.
Right. Okay. Should we move on to everyone's favorite topic, argument parsing? All right, let's do it. I have a very minor update. So I've been trying to get, I extracted that node ESLint plugin Node core from Node core into my own library, which we're using in the project. And started a conversation with Michael Dawson about getting that moved over to the PKG.js org. I also started a thread in Slack about, we had talked about changing the name to avoid confusion. Joe, you and I talked about this in Slack. I don't think either of us could remember if we'd come up with a better name. And then just a couple of days ago, someone opened an issue on my repo and mentioned this being used in Node core. And so it seems like the confusion issue is real. So probably should rename it. I don't know to what though.
What is the current name?
So it's called ESLint plugin Node core, but there's like a placeholder package on NPM with that same name. And then this exists directly in the Node.js code base. So it is technically a ESLint plugin. It's not published to NPM though. Node just uses it like internally in its own source code. So
Yeah, sounds confusing.
So it's definitely confusing.
Yeah.
Ideally, like it would be great if someone just published it to that package on NPM, right? But we thought that would maybe be more work, so we were just going to make our own version in the PKG.js org, which is basically done now. But I think we probably should change the name. All right.
Any ideas?
Yeah, I am kind
Oh,
of.
and Tierney's
What's the
here
name?
too.
What's the name currently?
ESLint plugin Node core.
Why don't you just call it like ES plugin? Never mind. I was going to say Node core style or something, but ESLint implies style, so.
Node core 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
ESLint. Yeah.
Hello.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one.
I'm trying to think of a joke. I'm just trying to think of a joke right now, and I'm not going up with it. So I'm 2 steps away from being productive.
Are we saying that we don't want to publish to that package?
The one that's a placeholder.
Yeah.
I mean, that is also an option. I'm not sure if that would be easier or harder, or more or less confusing. It'd be interesting. Like ideally that package would be published to that existing name and Node would actually use that package rather than containing everything in its source code.
Right.
I don't know how hard it would be to get that done though.
Are you talking about the thing that people are already doing right now, or is this a separate thing that you're proposing? Because I swear that was just proposed and like it's being done. Are you talking about that, or are you talking about doing that?
I don't know.
I saw that being discussed somewhere. I assumed that's what you were talking about and not proposing the thing that's being discussed. I think that there might be 2 discussions that are the same thing.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Yeah, I think I saw. I mean, unsurprisingly, I saw Rich. Rich is the person I remember from that discussion and that happening. Yeah, I believe the exact thing you're proposing is the thing that's being discussed somewhere.
Why don't you talk to Rich Trott?
Okay.
Ian.
I can do that. And yeah, Darcy, as you pointed out there, it's Joey who owns the package. I think the idea was like we basically just wanted to take the name so that no one else outside of Node published something in there. Yeah, okay. If there is an existing discussion about this, I can reach out to Rich and see if he can point me in the right direction.
Because we're doing fine right now with it as a Git dependency, so it's not like blocking anything. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, exactly. It's pointing to my like Git account and stuff. Yeah, not urgent or anything. It's this, it took me like, 20 minutes to extract the thing into a package and get it working. And then this part of, getting it moved into PKG.js or whatever has turned into a whole kind of thing. So anyways, that's kind of my update on parse args.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you could do like a recap of what happened. Maybe for the last 6 months on the parsing.
Who wants to get Roy up to speed?
Yeah, I don't know if how much has really been done actually in the last 6 months, because last 6 months has gone by pretty quickly.
I've been kind of noodling on it a bit because there's John Gee, who's one of the people who works on Commander, has came in and opened a ton of issues about opened a bunch of issues about just outstanding bugs and suggestions about usability, and they've all been super reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been contributing a bunch of patches. So I think we have we have one open pull request that could use people reviewing it, because I feel like it would be good to have another set of eyes just than me, which is also from John Gee, which I just pasted in here.
I think I did review that.
And this isn't really giving Roy what he needs. Let me think here. Okay. Summary. The reason we're pulling a linter in is we're trying to get this repo to be as much a drop-in thing that it's the same style as Node.js. So we can just drag and drop it over and make it in a library inside of Node.js. So we put linting in. We had a couple backs and forths on behavior. I think we've hammered out a lot of the edge cases in terms of behavior. There was a question about, maybe the biggest one was about, do we accept named options with a single dash? And I think that we're leaning now towards not accepting named options with a single dash, because it eliminates a lot of ambiguity. And then we can do grouped Booleans like rm-rf, which opens up a whole set of CLIs that we couldn't do if we had this ambiguity. So we've had those discussions. We haven't actually implemented Boolean option sets yet, which I think is one of the last features for implementation. We've done a few minor things, like we decided to call, I think it was called options and flags. We've decided to call that values and flags, I think, because both things are options, like they're Boolean options and options with values. So we made that like one little semantic change. What else is there worth saying?
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead if you have more.
The only other real one I had was. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's it for me.
I think the one other thing, unless it's in this pull request that I haven't reviewed, is we don't have any implementation of the strict argument. So the idea is like in the non-strict mode, you would get an error object back for any invalid flags, I guess. Whereas in the strict mode, it would just throw. So I don't think that's implemented. And I was kind of interested in maybe giving that a try.
Right, and the strict mode would be an opt-in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think that one was, strict mode was the last issue that had it, like, I feel like hadn't really been hammered out because there's a bunch of discussion around it.
Put a question in there because I know I haven't been here in a while. Then I was trying to play catch up with what you just said there, Ben. Sorry, the shorts or aliases are going to be able to be defined together, or we're going to parse those out in some way.
Yeah, I think what. Oh, thank you. Someone else in the.
Oh, go ahead.
I think what you're saying there is correct, Darcy. Like if you had a -A, -B, and -C flag, you could pass them
No,
all.
it's -AB. So like the thing is with aliases and shorts, they aren't necessarily a single character unless we're saying that we have some sort of like validation. I think the idea originally with parsecs was like bring your own validation. And so doing this kind of stuff starts to like really muddy the waters, right?
Well, no, what we're saying to not muddy it is like you can't have -foo. Like you have to have -foo. Like you can't have -AB. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Okay,
and,
so
and that's yeah.
So in
Okay.
that case, aliases could only be one character. Is that right?
It forces alias into one character.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, I think in both both myself and the person from Commander agreed that it's kind of a weird affordance to allow for the single dash. Like there's no reason to not force someone to say ~foo. Most like a lot of command lines require that, and you get more utility out of being able to do rm-rf. That like because that's like Git does that, RM does that. Like most Unix tools allow for those Boolean option groups, and whereas most Unix tools don't allow you to just omit one of your dashes on an option. So it's kind of, if we were going to eliminate a source of ambiguity, I'd rather us force you to have 2 dashes for an option than to lose the ability to build like rimraf with really easily.
Where have we lost you, Darcy?
Just the exception of shorts being only a single, or like aliases only being a single character, because npm is not, and this is before my time of managing the CLI, but log level, for instance, is like -d, -dd, -ddd for like verbose, map, silly log levels, which is obviously not the standard, let's say, like the normal practice. But yeah.
Isn't that just it like the option is -d and then you're just passing it multiple times in that case? I think we would allow that.
We have others that are not
Oh,
this way as well. That's just one example. WS is another one. Workspaces can be passed as WS. That was a bad decision on our end. But we have there's a whole bunch of other flags like that. And I know other people have aliases that are multi-characters. So
should we just not even, I was going to say, should we just not even get into the, single letter thing and just figure out a way to just pass it? If there's a short, 1 dash, we have another object, value in the object.
I think we're relitigating, because we've argued about this quite a bit. I think you lose a lot of benefit if someone can't hammer together something like Git or rimraf. Like the option groups are really common in command lines. And when I look at something like DDD, like that's actually represented in command line parsers sometimes differently. Like what you'll sometimes do is have a count argument where you actually tell how many times it's been provided. So like in yards, you can say D is a count argument, and you can, and if you go DDD, you'll actually get the value 3 for D. So you know that like log level, we're getting into like really, in my opinion, we're getting into edge KC with like, now we're starting to get into power features, right? Like triple D. It's a power feature.
Is there even, is there a way to do both? Just kind of, I don't want to relitigate either, but could we assume parsing shortcode single characters, but also have another, object or array that we return that passes it along if you don't want to use the shortcodes? I don't know.
I mean, I
don't want
think
people.
that,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Oh no, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just, I think that there's also like, I think DDD is one example, but like, I think that there's, I guess given that you're correct that that's like a power user thing, we also have a power user here who's kind of asking for that. And I think that like, I don't know, I feel like we should try to figure out ways that we can yeah, I don't know whether, and that could also like, but figure out ways that we can kind of make sure the people who want to use it are going to be able to use it.
I'm in favor of supporting like the multiple of the same single letter flag, but maybe not in favor of supporting multi-letter or character aliases.
Yeah,
I feel the same way. Like I think like DDD would be easy to differentiate from dash, say RM, because like we could treat like special case. We could special case increments. It doesn't work well for the other example, which was what, like dash. What was that other example, Darcy?
WS.
It's WS.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
workspace.
yeah, I'm wondering, like, do we have examples?
Like, why wouldn't it be dash dash workspace?
It is both, by the way.
Okay, so to me, that's not holding water for me. like I don't understand why there's a dash WS.
Also,
Yeah.
I'm also
Yeah.
thinking about like parsing single letter and multi-letter aliases. Like imagine if you had one alias that ended with an R and another one that started with an F. Is that RF or is that just R and F? Like that sounds like a nightmare to me.
I wonder if it's the group alias. It's something that can be just a top level configuration. Then you can opt in or opt out of it, because usually from what I've seen, like my whole life, I never see anything that can mixes them both, right? So you either are using group aliases or it's not that at all, and you're using your parameters with a single dash, right? So
I
feel
wonder
like
if we could just have
having an option.
neither, or what if we just had neither, and then single dash is like you just get the whole blob, and if you want to implement dash RF, you split it yourself and do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what I was trying to say before. Like, and we could even add the, you know, the single as well as that, but you know, have both potentially. I don't know if it doesn't seem like it makes it that complex to do both.
I feel like opting into that and then allowing parsing for it is a fine path.
So just to clarify, are we saying like by default we would parse that as single letter or single character flags, and then we would also pass the whole string somewhere so that if you want to do something else with it, you're free to?
That's what I was trying to suggest.
But I think what Ben was suggesting before was the other way around, right? We don't do anything, because it might also be a way we could do it. We don't do anything by default, but then we show the, you know, what provide examples, provide like, okay, this is an easy way you can just turn a group of letters into, as if you have so many options at once.
Like this becomes a positional, right? Like, so this becomes a positional, and what you can do is you start with to find the dash and then basically split and do exactly what you want to do, which is to like map these shorts to whatever you want, right? That's what I imagine. So we don't do anything special for when we sing a single dash. We're only do parsing when we're seeing multiple dashes, right? Does that make sense? And then this would then get provided as a positional that then you do that mapping. I don't know.
So
like,
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I was trying to make sure I understand you. So it would be in the positional array, or and it would just be, it would start with a dash as a positional, so you would know this is what you would, you know, you would do your own parsing on that.
Yeah, and then that would limit, because again, I know there was an ask, and I think you answered it, Joe, at one point, or maybe Michael Dawson had the ask, I forget, around what happens when we see 3 dashes. What are we doing that? We see 10, 10 dashes, like, like what are we eventually going to do, right? Like,
I think if you did like dash 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 foo, the recommendation of, what was it? I feel like the recommendation we maybe landed on was that you end up with an argument dash foo.
I thought we had decided we would just collapse 2 or more dashes to 2 dashes.
So I think Yeah, I think what we need to do is also like every time we're making a decision, we add it back to the README, like
Well,
where
you know,
we have examples. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, these discussions have been happening on the repos. I think we have to have the discussions there because we're not looping in. We're not looping in. Sorry, I always forget his name. John. We're not looping in John Gee, who's been making good arguments from a commander's perspective.
We could make a
Yeah.
pull request for the README with these changes, and then use that to kick off a discussion.
Yeah, because I consider that to be the spec, like honestly. So if I see or hear that like we've changed anything, then I'm like, oh, then it should be there in the spec. Like the examples should be updated for these nuanced kind of like situations.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is it has been updated with John Gee's updates. So
Guess I'm not seeing it.
it's
It
at
has
the very
been
bottom
updated in the README.
I believe so.
Cool. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, if you take a look at the bottom, it says that's in the README. So,
Oh yeah, sorry, I was going back to like the multiple character shorts.
no, that's still being discussed in an issue. So that's just, I think that's one of the outstanding issues.
I mean, an easy path forward is just, you know, if it starts with 2 dashes and then no other dashes, we handle it. And if it's anything 1 or 3 or more, then we pass it as a positional, the whole dang thing. It'd be like an easy way to just 2 dashes is our thing. Any other dashes is a positional, you know, as it is.
Yeah,
we should probably just have the.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I do see the value in like having shorts be something we do for you out of the box.
I also think out of the box and you can turn it off is fine. Like, I think that's a fine thing to do. If like someone wants to turn that off and like write their own custom handling of it, I think we should probably allow that.
Let's talk about it on, I agree with you, Turney. Let's talk about it on this issue here.
Yep. Happy to put it.
So, just so that John Gee is looped in because he's been contributing a ton.
Yep.
We should actually ask him to join the call, honestly, but I like doing stuff in the open. I don't know. I like to, Darcy makes really good points too. Like, as long as we can enable Darcy's behavior. I like the idea of turning it off, having a way to turn it off at least, so that you can just get that short option group. That makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm totally okay with dropping and breaking changes. It's totally fine. I'm far more in the camp of like, okay, let's do this and we'll work on having to make our silliness like compatible.
I also think that there are other people who probably don't have as much ability to do that.
Right.
Or there's a lot of people who aren't good at Simver. And yeah.
I would like for us not to make perfect the enemy of good either.
Yes.
Like I don't want us to add too many options to this thing, because I'd love to like start getting it merged into Node as soon as we can address some of the critical things.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Are you actually planning to use this in NPM, Darcy?
Yes, we are dropping, like, this is on our roadmap in like the next 6 months. So if you see more than myself and Roy here, we'd like this polyfill to be like a v1.0 shipped in the next 6 months, in the next 2 quarters.
Let's get it going. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's get it. Let's go there.
I'm not gonna like. I am happy with things as they are today. So I don't feel so passionately about anything that I wouldn't just say let's ship it. So
yeah,
I think we just all need to get to the point where we have addressed the last outstanding things. I made a dashboard for us on GitHub.
Yeah, how are we tracking these outstanding things? Is it just the issues in the repo, or is there anything else that we are using to track?
I made a dashboard. I made a milestone for us that has like the 3 issues that I think are like go time blockers.
Cool.
Awesome.
I think Ethan and I both joined because Joe pinged us in a Slack channel.
Yes.
Yeah, should we-
About recursive something.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, let's go back to the recursive reader agenda. So there was an issue in the Node.js repo that the two of you were involved in, and Ben. So we are big fans of adding recursive things to Node. And so, yeah, we were basically just wondering, Ethan, you had said you were interested in working on that. So we were wondering if that was still the case or if you wanted us to pick that up. Happy with either.
I'd definitely love to contribute it. I think would love to hear from Tierney and what they've done in the like recursive reader kind of project. If we wanted to vendor something, if folks just wanted me to add a recursive option to the reader like function, like whatever we all think is the best way to do it. I definitely have some time this month that I can get this started and working, and we can try and land it. We can discuss over at PR. Usually works best in the Node repos.
I just context on my quote unquote work in recursive reader. I was trying to build this, and then I found there was a module and it hadn't been published and it had a problem. So I just asked if I could be added, and I got added, and then that was it. So I've not done work on recursive reader, but I have published access. So yes, that is the extent of my work. Is I asked nicely if I could be a maintainer, and then I never published anything. So
So I think
I can, in that case, I can probably just take what exists, because recursive reader is downloaded like 4 million times or something. So
a lot.
I can just take this and see what I can sort of vendor it, sort of copy the license and all into Node, and then we can take it from there. I know DevSnec wrote a pretty cool like async generator version, and I've added some additional pieces to that in that original issue, so we can take it either way.
Is there a way to this is I wish the npm website was slightly better. Is there a way to see like the most downloaded packages that rely on a package? Like I don't know how to find that. The answer might be there isn't one, and I have to like loop through all 1900 dependencies. But it might be. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Tierney. If you look at the dependents,
Mhm.
Darcy can correct me, but it should be sorted in order of dependents, like in order of number of people who depend on it. If you click on the dependents tab, so like the top one's going to be the most downloaded one.
Interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah.
It seems no, that is not the case, because the first one has 2 downloads weekly.
Really?
Yeah, there's other ones that have much more. Like AWS S3 deploy probably has nope, it has 6. Well, okay, it has more, but not it is not ordered in that order. So yeah, just figuring out that and like reaching out to people who like Screen relies on it. I don't know if that's still being developed or not, but it has $20,000 a week. So going through and figuring that out would also be nice. Oh boy.
Oh,
hey,
so you have to go to the second page. Hold on
the
here.
second page. Okay.
Yeah, and then it should be in order. So
like React Dev-Utils relies on it. Oh, hey, this is all of the downloads.
Yes.
You're responsible for all the downloads. Yeah, we can probably wait. That was published recently by yeah. Okay, cool.
I think that was when we did the search back in the day. That was how we chose to sort it. So I have like 3-year out of date information. So Darcy's a better person to talk to, but that was the sort order years.
If Ian changes React Dev-Utils to this implementation, 4 million downloads will go away from recursive reader. So that works out.
Great.
all right.
Another aspect is we could probably also do some benchmarking and see what's the best way to do it, fastest way to do it, and incorporate that into the vendoring addition to Node Core.
Yeah, like the difference, I mean, the code is a lot longer in recursive reader, and it looks roughly like it does the same thing. So I think that compared to your code example. But yeah.
So in terms of, oh, sorry, Ben, you want to? You can go ahead.
But I was just going to inject. If you take a look at the copy, recursive copy code that went in recently, Ethan, like that was just dropped directly over from FS Extra, so it was vendored. But you can look at how we what directory we chose to put it in, and the cleanups that we ended up having, because we did a bunch of cleanup just to make it look more like Node.js's style. So, but that was actually vendoring. Like it was just the file was brought over.
I think the two of you are kind of describing vendoring differently.
Yes.
There's vendoring where like we have a script that pulls the package into Node and you use it directly. But I believe what you're describing is like just copy pasting the implementation into Node core. So just want to clarify that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Copying, pasting. That's what we did in Undici. We took my Undici fetch and we copied and pasted it, and then as well as the license. And it's like, this is Ethan's original work, but it's then been, added to, removed from, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I was thinking.
I'm saying the same. I'm saying the same thing. I just probably shouldn't have used the word vendor. I copy and pasted. Copy recursive over from FS Extra, but did a bunch of nodisms to it.
Tiny problem with it is the license for recursive reader doesn't actually list the copyright holders. It just has copyright holders in brackets because they didn't fill it out. So yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay, maybe we can figure that out. I was just going to make two other comments about the implementation details. One, before you joined the call, Ethan, we were saying the current recursive reader has a dependency on mini-match. So we were kind of proposing that maybe we would just exclude the globbing functionality for the time being, which is exactly what we did with RimRaf as well. So that was the first one. And then the second thing I was going to say in terms of like the API, I'm thinking maybe just they're adding a recursive option to reader makes sense. I'm curious what everyone else thinks.
Yes, please. That matches the rest of the API. So
yeah, that'd be where I went to first, I think.
I mean, in some cases we've created new commands, like now we have the RM command. But yeah, I think recursive option is also the way to go here.
I might be repeating something you said already, so sorry if I did. But we were talking earlier too about glob not being a thing in Node.js. But what copy recursive did to give you something kind of like globbing was you can provide it a closure, and then if you provide a closure, you can return true or false as to whether you want the file in the result set. So it's like you could maybe think about that as an option instead of glob, and it matches how we've dealt with it elsewhere.
Yeah, it lets you provide a filter function, which you could do and use glob if you want.
Yeah.
Well, I think that right now it's, if you call fs.reader, you just pass it a string or a path that is a directory, and it will error if it's not a directory. And then it'll just return the top level. I think the addition of the recursive option is simply to just continue down the path of each of those. If it's if a path is a directory, just continue adding it to the resulting list. Does reader already have an option such as like filter or whatever, where like if you were to just call it as it is now, not recursively, could you filter out some part of the results? And if it doesn't have that, then maybe I'll say we shouldn't be making any change. I think at first we should only just add deep recursion reader. And if we want that kind of filtering feature, that could be like a second thing to do after the first bit lands.
It doesn't have that option right now. I'm just reading the docs.
Cool.
I agree with what you're saying there. We can always add it later. And also there's a possibility that at some point we end up with a glob implementation in Node, and then we just use that. So
nice.
So I will get started on this now. Luckily I have a lot of free time, so I'll try and get something going, and then I'll make sure to at the right people, and we can get some reviews going through.
Thanks, Ethan.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ethan.
That's kind of everything for the agenda. This was a good meeting. This is the most people we've had at a meeting in a while.
I realized it is not on my calendar like I thought it was, so I haven't been showing up. I will try to show up more in the future.
It's every 2 weeks at this time.
Okay. I will actually add that to my calendar since it apparently wasn't on it.
And kind of to echo Darcy's point from the comments earlier, yeah, let's try and get this Parsar's polyfill shipped as soon as possible here and make this happen in Node this year.
Yeah, I have opinions, but none of them are blocking for me. So like I will. I'm pretty easygoing. I think we're almost ready to ship it. I really like the API.
Yeah, I'll go through those issues and PRs too. We'll try to keep it moving.
Are folks okay with the moving up to the word values from options? The argument was very sound, I thought, which was that they're both options.
Sure.
So
Yep.
that was the only, like, I'd say significant change that's landed. Since
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Big
think
figures.
that's,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's more-
Specifically, sorry, go ahead, Ian.
That's
Okay. Yeah, it specifically makes the API more clear for people who aren't necessarily like familiar with these different things. So I
You got flags and you got values. Values have things, flags are Booleans. I think it made sense to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super easy. Cool.
Cool.
all right. Thanks everyone for coming. Good
Yep.
start to 2022.
Yeah, good to see more folks back on the call.
Yeah.
Take care.